Hi guys! Welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories.
The first one is titled, Nice Neighbor Won't Stop Policing My Property. Omaha, Nebraska. This is a weird situation and I'm not sure if I'm overreacting. I purchased my house a few years ago and had met the neighbor who seemed really nice. Within months of moving in I had the county come and address removing tree limbs that were in the power lines. This was over winter. The serviceman left 2 piles of tree limbs with my permission because I have a fire pit and would burn the wood. These piles were on either side of the tree and were not very significant. I managed to chop up 1 pile over the month, but the other pile had to wait because it was winter, and snow began to fall again. Long story short, my neighbor had reported me. This is not something that the county would see from the street or even care about. I learned from my other neighbors that this particular neighbor liked to police the neighborhood. That situation was annoying but no big deal because I had planned on cutting up the wood anyways when weather permitted it. Come summer I was reported for grass being too tall and for bushes that I planted. It seemed that every other week I got some sort of notice for something. I am not a dirty person and I keep my house nice. Since I've moved in, I've added a garden, painted the back deck, cleaned up and sealed the cracks in the driveway, plastered my front porch. In short, I take care of my property. I am also military and have lived in military housing with very strict guidelines. I have never had an issue. I tried addressing said neighbor with a letter. And it came down to talk to me if you have an issue, and if you're not going to talk to me and just report me then I'd rather us not talk at all because I don't do fake pleasantries. I sent that letter over a year ago. We still haven't talked. Neither him nor his wife have talked to me to address any of this. In the meantime, he does these fake nice things of grabbing my garbage containers and throwing away the newspaper that is thrown on my driveway. I let it go because whatever. He can knock himself out if that makes him happy. Well, it turns out that he had gone in my backyard which is surrounded by a chain link fence. He rearranges my trash bins by stacking them and tossed away a cardboard box that had been in my backyard. Now here's the thing. I kept the trash bins not organized because my roommate has a chihuahua, and the bin blocks this dog from getting between the post of the chain link door and the house. My roommate did not mess with the bins or box. Odd. I placed a padlock on that door and figured that would be a hint and would keep him from going in my yard. Also, I didn't want our dogs getting loose if he left the gate open. I have no reason to suspect that he's been in my backyard for any other reason but that, but I have no idea. Come this past winter he started to snowblow the new sidewalk that was installed through the neighborhood in front of my house. No biggie, he can knock himself out. Then he started snowblowing up to my front porch. I did not like this because he can easily look in my window. And for a neighbor who likes to report me for everything, it's not something I feel comfortable with. I spoke to my roommate about this, and she didn't like it either. She suggested that I go talk to him and I did that day. In short, I covered him not doing chores on my property and that I'm able to do them myself. And besides that, I'm an adult and I like my privacy. I am a 31-year-old female and have been told I look younger, so I really emphasized that I am a fully independent, capable adult. He seemed flustered and said that he does this for everyone and has always done this. I told him that he doesn't have to anymore. He didn't seem happy but appeared to have an understanding. For a few months, he left my bins and newspaper alone, but now he is back at it. Today he took out my full garbage bin from near the fence and put it away after the trash was picked up. From the outside this is nice, but he only does this for my house. He doesn't do it for the couple across the street who had a baby last year. He doesn't do it for the neighbor on the other side of him. I am under the impression that he feels he has a right to keep my property to his standard and in doing so can take any liberties, going in my yard. Obviously I can't keep up with a retired couple's immaculate lawn, but my property is well kept. How do I address this? Update. Based on the comments here, thanks for not making me feel crazy over this weird situation, and talking with my boyfriend, I am going to, well, I guess he is gonna, install outdoor cameras. This way I have evidence to root this up. So, random thought, could I sabotage my own property? You know, like put grease on the garbage handle of my trash bin? That probably wouldn't work. Don't want to upset sanitation, but you get the idea. The next one is titled, Homeowner Association and Landlord Lawn Maintenance Issues. Florida. 6 months ago, we rented a single-family detached house in Central Florida. When we moved in, we noticed and noted on the walkthrough that the yard had weed issues and a few bare spots along the back fence. We were verbally told that we only needed to keep it mowed, watered and keep the flower beds in good order. Sometime in the last week the homeowner association sent a letter to the owner that the yard needed to be resod. They felt that there were too many weeds in the lawn, mentioned the bare spots along the back fence and that they felt that the timeline for using weed and feed and/or new seed to crowd out the weeds would take too long. They gave the owner 30 days to lay down sod. The owner sent that letter to the management company who then sent us a 7-day cure or quit notice. The owner and the management company want us to resod the lawn within the 7 days or move out and forfeit the deposit, pay anything not covered by said deposit, the difference in the sod and what we put down, plus the usual deductions and penalties mentioned in the lease. We don't have the 7 to 8K laying around for this, nor do we have the capital to move or put down a deposit on a new place in such short notice. The lease only mentions that routine lawn maintenance is our responsibility and that we would abide by the rules of the homeowner association. Where do we stand and/or how do we fix this? Update. Well, despite informing the owners and the management company that replacing the sod was something that they should take care of, I got an eviction notice posted on my front door this morning. If I leave in 3 days, they will drop the eviction suit, otherwise they will pursue the matter in court. Of course, they are saying that I forfeit my deposit and that I will be on the hook for any additional damages as outlined in the lease. It seems they are playing hardball. Where do I go from here? The next one is titled, "One Last Check Before I Sue My Ex-Landlord in Small Claims for Not Returning Security Deposit." Missouri. I rented a house for 3 years. All rent was paid on time. I gave notice that I was not going to renew the lease more than 30 days before the end of the lease period. I gave the landlord a forwarding address and the keys. I cleaned the house thoroughly the last week of the lease period. I took a 15-minute walkthrough video of the house the day I left it. The landlord replied within 2 weeks, sending an itemized bill of costs of repainting and cleaning, but did not cite any damage I did to the house. There was no damage to the house. However, the landlord claims the costs of painting and cleaning, $1,250, exceed the security deposit, $1,150, and when I asked for clarification, he confirmed he would not be sending any part of the deposit back to me. I searched helpful r/legal advice a month ago. I sent a demand letter via certified mail, citing the actual law saying what he's claiming as costs to recover the property, his words, falls within ordinary wear and tear, Missouri statute words, and I am not responsible for those costs. I demanded my security deposit back in full, giving him a deadline to respond 3 days ago, a month from the date I sent him the demand letter. The letter was signed for, but it was never answered. I compiled a small claims lawsuit and I plan to file it tomorrow, asking for double the amount of the security deposit, as Missouri law allows for this. As this is my first time suing anyone, I'm concerned there's something hidden that I don't know about. I desperately need that security deposit, and I can't afford to waste even the minimal costs of filing if there's something I should have known about and missed. The section in the lease that discusses security deposits is, tenants hereby agree to pay a security deposit of $900 to be refunded upon vacating, returning the keys to the landlord and termination of this contract according to the terms herein agreed. This deposit will be held to cover any possible damage to the property. No interest will be paid on this money and in no case will it be applied to back of future rent. It will be held intact by landlord until at least 30 working days after tenants have vacated the property. At that time landlord will inspect the premises thoroughly and assess any damages and/or needed repairs. This deposit money minus any necessary charges for missing, dead light bulbs, repairs, cleaning, etc., will then be returned to tenant with a written explanation of deductions, within 30 days after they have vacated the property. I plan to provide the walkthrough video on a DVD for the court. I also loaded it to YouTube and provided the URL in my evidence. Please let me know if there are pitfalls I should be aware of before I file. Thanks for reading. Update. Also, Judge Mathis invited us to be on the show, but I'd rather cut off my leg. So, we filed the case, and it was eventually heard a week ago. The landlord hired an attorney. We did not. The first judge who was supposed to hear the case, a judge who hears small claims cases, serves on a homeowner association with the landlord, so he recused himself. Small towns, you know. The second judge hears divorce case and restraining orders. So, we argued in front of him. It warms the cockles of my cold heart that the landlord hired an attorney. Even if we hadn't won, he still paid for his attorney and we just paid the court costs, and that made my month. His attorney offered us $500 a couple months ago, but I turned that down. For some reason, the clerk gave back our evidence when I filed, which included a 13-minute video walkthrough of the house we rented after we had cleaned it. So, the landlord's attorney hadn't seen that until the day we met in court. I showed it to both him and the landlord before we argued the case. The attorney asked to speak a moment with his client, without us obviously, and in my fantasy the attorney was telling the landlord to settle because there was no damage to the house in the video. But the case went on regardless. Neither my wife or I had ever argued anything in court before, and we were extremely nervous. And we felt very foolish for some reason. Maybe because court is so often on TV, it felt like we were playing fake court on TV. The landlord's attorney did his darndest, bless his heart, which, cost the landlord more money with each passing minute, so if I got questioned on the stand, so be it. The landlord's case seemed to hinge on the fact that we covered nail holes with spackle and paint that he had left in the garage. None of it made any sense. We were awarded our initial security deposit plus filing costs. We asked for double our security deposit because we can in Missouri, but we didn't get that sum. I would have taken just the security deposit the minute we walked into the courtroom. Thank you for the original links that explained what can happen in small claims court with security deposits, r/legal advice. Now I guess we have to figure out how to get paid. The next one is titled, "Can you be forced into a wall and made to follow their rules?" This happened to my brother, but I just want to make sure he is going about this right and help him otherwise. About 15 years ago my brother bought a farm in Ontario, Canada near a medium-sized city. In the last 5 years or so an upper middle-class subdivision popped up beside him which for the most part wasn't much of a problem. Today he had the president of the homeowner association for the subdivision come over to him and tried to issue him demands and fines for violating their rules. His farm was originally established in the late 1800s and the subdivision was built around 2010, so it's not like he was part of them when they were built. The homeowner association is saying that he is creating a public nuisance by spreading manure on his fields. He rents most of them out to a neighbor since he works in the city for the most part, along with demanding that he stop doing things like using his smoker, using farm equipment near the subdivision, cease commercial enterprises, and stop using his impact gun because the noise/smoke is apparently very disruptive to the community a kilometer or so away. The president of the homeowner association also demanded a ridiculous amount in past dues along with other fines that he needs to supposedly pay to the president and not the homeowner association. My brother took the papers and told the guy in no kind words to never come back with papers demanding money unless he was with a lawyer or a cop that'll back him up on his BS. He also has an appointment with a lawyer Thursday to talk about this, but in the meantime, I just wanted to know if there was anything my brother should do prepare for his meeting with the lawyer. The only issue I think he might have been that he has guard donkeys protecting his wife's sheep. She loves knitting and creating things with the wool, so he has some of the meanest donkeys I've ever seen guarding them from coyotes. Some of the kids from the subdivision come around to look at the sheep, but he has a lot of signs warning about the dangers of the donkeys. Realistically, he can't secure a kilometer or so of fence fully against children, so should he be worried? He has chicken wire stapled up along the fence so no little kids can easily crawl through and signs to warn the older ones that the donkeys are not to be trifled with. Is there anything else he should be doing or working on to help himself out? We both think the president of the homeowner association is talking out of his butt, but I am slightly worried that if a kid gets bitten or trampled by a donkey that he will be in trouble and the president of the homeowner association could use that against him. What should my brother do aside from document to help himself against the homeowner association president and to make sure that no little kids get hurt by the donkeys? Is he going about this right, or is there something else that he should do to legally help himself? Update. Sorry about the delay in posting this, I had a pretty busy weekend. As it turns out, my brother already had his property surveyed when he was working with a neighbor to rent out some of the fields, and from what he says there is a 0% chance that anyone from the subdivision actually owns any of his land. He debated getting another survey done, but he was pretty sure that the letter from the lawyer would be enough. The lawyer seemed pretty helpful, and my brother sounded really happy with how the meeting went. Apparently, it didn't look to the lawyer like he was doing anything that couldn't be seen as normal farm practices, so he shouldn't worry about being sued for spreading manure. The donkeys and sheep were discussed, but they ended up deciding that he would just increase his insurance, Add more warning signs and fully wrap the wooden fence with new sheep fence along with replacing the older fencing. He also got a letter that from what he read to me seems to cover the fact that he isn't doing anything that could be considered unusual farming practices. It also showed that he actually owns the land and said that unless the homeowner association has a descending survey, they have no claim to his land. It ended saying that the homeowner association president should contact the lawyer and not my brother if he has any further issues. Interestingly enough, the lawyer couldn't find any homeowners association under the name the guy had given my brother. He said it's possible they just formed or changed their name, but more than likely it's just some busybody sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. There is a small chance that they unofficially formed a homeowner association and never actually did anything but give themselves a name and some rules, but the lawyer said that if they did it wouldn't change the fact that they can't force him to join. So, my brother and his wife are happy that things seem to have been resolved. He bought a security camera for the front door so he can have a recording if the guy shows up again, but that's hopefully the end of it. The last one is titled, Neater Approach to Parking Rules, Violations and Towing? I was recently towed for the second time in my complex where we've lived for over a year. The general guidelines or approach to parking enforcement is to tow anyone without a guest pass. Each household is given a guest pass which can be used up to 3 times in a month. Guest passes are only required for parking overnight. I am wondering if other associations have found more sensible parking rules after suffering what we currently have. Especially given that I might forget to park my car in the garage at night and get towed. Even though my guest pass hasn't been used at all. Just a couple ideas. Since the association ramped up enforcement, we have excess guest parking overnight every night. It would seem to me that the excess supply of overnight parking exists because the price is too high, only 3 nights per unit. Are there cases where a market solution could be leveraged to more efficiently allocate parking spaces overnight? This still wouldn't solve for the case of forgetting to park my car in the garage or displaying the guest pass. So maybe there is a better way for owner vehicles to be tagged with a sticker or something that prevents them from being towed if they haven't used their guest pass. Edit. Thanks to everyone for your feedback and suggestions. I'll be joining the next few meetings to try and reach a sensible solution. As you all know, the wheels of homeowner association justice move slowly. Thanks for listening. Carrot 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 carrot.